What is up, guys? Welcome to my review for Titan Season 2, Episode 11, titled EL blank O. However, after the episode, it's pretty clear the episode is actually titled Elko. Now, this episode follows three different storylines, one of them involving Nightwing, another one involving the women of the Titans, and also Bruce Wayne, and another one involving Jason and Rose, which is kind of a Judas contract-related storyline. There's also a bit with Beast Boy in the beginning and in the end, and I'll talk about all of those storylines in this review. So with that in mind, let's begin with the Dick Grayson storyline. So in the last episode, Dick helped these Corto Maltesians escape, and in that scenario effectively became Blue Wing, and then he was in this episode locked up in solitary confinement, and he hallucinates Bruce Wayne yet again like he did in episode 7. Now in this episode, the main purpose of the storyline was to make Dick Grayson Nightwing, give him that new identity, which in this storyline he definitely inches closer to becoming Nightwing, and it's really exciting. But also for the Jericho storyline, as in episode 9, Dick went to Adeline's house, and in this whole interaction he had with Slade, Slade was acting very unusual, and one thing people noticed was the sign language that Slade was signing, which you see in this episode as well. But anyway, Dick hallucinates Bruce Wayne, and Bruce being Dick himself, tries to convince himself that Jericho is alive in Slade Wilson's mind. So later in the storyline, Dick's hallucinations become crazier, as not only is he hallucinating Bruce, but also the surrounding world, like the prison cell becomes a whole different place. But in this scene, he fights Bruce, and I think it's that in this scene, and also in a different scene in a different storyline, the Women of the Titans storyline, that I started to really like this version of Bruce Wayne. I still think he doesn't really look the part, and he feels a lot more like Alfred, especially because of his appearance and the hint of the British accent that the actor has. However, in this episode, he has a lot of badass moments, and in this fight, he's really, really cool. But beyond Bruce Wayne himself, this is definitely an awesome scene for Dick becoming Nightwing, as Dick is being beaten by the hallucination of Bruce until he starts to hold his own once he embraces a different form of fighting that is definitely closer to Nightwing, which I think is really cool. But beyond that, something I really liked about this scene, the whole scene here, is that how it switches between Dick fighting Bruce, which is a really cool fight scene, and also visually it looks really cool, and switching between that and him just in his cell punching nothing, where he thinks he's punching Bruce, because it doesn't look like he's fighting anybody. It looks like he's training to escape prison, which he does later, and training to become Nightwing, which he will do in episode 12, or more likely 13. Because of that, I think it's really exciting. I think creatively switching between the actual hallucination and the real life was really, really well done, and this is all definitely my favorite part of this episode. So that is the Nightwing part of this storyline, but then there's also the Jericho part, as the hallucination of Bruce Wayne is trying to convey to Dick that Slade is actually, or at least partially, Jericho, which is basically Dick telling himself, like, there's nobody telling him new information. He knows everything that he's being told, but this is just basically him arguing with himself, as the hallucination of Bruce is not real. But then he realizes that Slade did this hand motion, this sign language, which apparently conveys "help me," which is definitely means that Jericho is in there, which is something I mentioned in my review for episode 9. But anyway, I thought that this whole thing worked really well. This storyline was really, really good, and the ending, where I'll get to that like in the actual finale of this review, because it's a combination of two different storylines, but also the ending with him escaping prison without the help of anybody else, and the message that Jericho is alive. It's definitely really exciting, and I really like this storyline overall, a lot more than the other storylines. Even though the other storylines are not bad, this one is definitely the best part of this episode, and I'm really excited for Nightwing to finally show up. So then there's the multiple storylines that all come together with Rachel, Dawn, Donna, and Coriander, as I'll go one by one until they all come together. For Rachel, she's with these people that she met up with in the last episode, which they quickly abandoned in this episode, which I'm not against. I really didn't like that storyline in the last episode at all. It felt very filler, but with them abandoning it in this episode seemingly, it just makes me wonder why it existed at all. But there's a part where Rachel gets her fortune told, which seems like the future is a little bit more dark for her than expected, which might tease the return of Trigon in the future. But overall, that whole part of that storyline was fine. The Dawn part of the storyline was her driving back to San Francisco, as she and Hank seemingly broke up in the last episode, and she also gets some hints to go to this place called Elko's, which, I mean, there's really nothing else going on in this storyline at all. Donna gets a call from Rachel, or at least it seems like it's Rachel, to go to Elko's, and that's really the extent of her storyline until then. And it's really Corey who has the most storyline, as she starts making out with a bunch of strangers, which she has like a huge breakdown in this episode, which kind of came out of nowhere, but it definitely does make sense with how in the last episode she learned that her parents are dead, and that her sister took over her throne, which was even mentioned in this episode, so that part of it was also fun. She gets all these ads and messages to go to Elko's as well, and that's when all these storylines come together. Corey, Rachel, Dawn, and Donna all meet up in Elko's, not knowing that they were all going to be there, and that's when Bruce Wayne shows up. The moment where it's actually revealed that Bruce Wayne was the one who brought them all together, or the moment where the camera pans up showing Bruce, it's a really cool moment, and like this, and also the Dick Grayson storyline, like I said, makes me really like Ian Glenn's version of Bruce Wayne a lot more than I did before. Then Bruce gives a speech to the women of the Titans to bring the Titans all together, because they can't survive this war with Deathstroke. He doesn't actually mention Slade, but it is implied that's what he's talking about, without all being together, which is a really cool moment until the women, mostly Corey and then Dawn, and they basically all agreed that Bruce was mansplaining them to bring the Titans back together, which not only was a really cringy moment, but also makes the entirety of the storyline going up to now completely pointless, other than bringing these characters together, which for Donna and Dawn would go to save Gar, and for Corey and Rachel go and attempt to save Dick, even though he didn't end up needing saving, as he just escaped without their help. But other than that, it just makes me think why this storyline existed, especially like all this build up to why they need to go to Elko's, and Bruce Wayne is there because they just shrug it off. It's also kind of disrespectful to Bruce Wayne. I mean, he's Bruce Wayne, he's Batman, he knows what he's talking about. But anyway, that makes me like the storyline significantly less than I would have, because up until that point it was a really good mystery of why they're all there, even though for Rachel it doesn't really make any sense how Bruce knew that she was going to be there. I mean, maybe he didn't, but through the dreams that she had, there's no way Bruce could have manipulated that. For all the other things, the radio, the ads, or the phone call that Donna got, it was all Bruce could have manipulated that. He has the skills and the resources, but for Rachel he couldn't. But anyway, the whole mystery leading up to Bruce's reveal was really good, but then the shrugging off of what Bruce says from Corey and Dawn and the rest, it really makes it all worthless, which is why I do not like the storyline as much as I could have had they just not mentioned that in the end. So then there's the Jason and Rose storyline, which we haven't seen anything from these guys in a while. Episode 7, which is a whole month ago, was the last time either of them had anything to do. But Jason and Rose's storyline in this episode is definitely, I think, a little bit underwhelming for what we got, as it's really all, until the ending that is, a dramatic kind of love story, which I do like these two together, and I would definitely like to see a spin-off show called The Outlaws or Red Hood or something involving Jason, where he died and then came back to life as Red Hood, and Rose would definitely, I think, be a great part of that TV show. But this storyline up until the ending was really just a dramatic storyline. We got no superhero action here, which it could have been cool seeing Robin in this storyline, and maybe Rose suit up as a Ravager for the first time, which is apparently happening in the next episode. But either way, this storyline I don't think was as good as it could have been, and it wasn't exactly what I wanted to see. However, the ending confirmed that Rose has been working with Slade this entire time, which means this season has been doing the Judas contract. For those of you who don't know, which is probably not a lot of people, because the Judas contract is probably the most famous Teen Titans storyline. It's a storyline where the Titans get a new recruit, Tara Markov, aka Tara, a girl who can control Earth, but it's later revealed she's been working with Slade this entire time. It's been done a lot in Teen Titans TV show, in a movie adaptation, and even in Young Justice, but now that they're doing it in live action for the first time, instead of using Tara, maybe either for some budgetary reasons or maybe because it makes more sense, they're using Rose Wilson, aka Ravager, as Slade planted her on the Titans to mess with them, and it's now revealed that they've actually been doing the Judas contract this entire time. However, while Tara typically does become evil, or continues to be evil, and it actually betrays them, Rose is not doing that. She wants out, probably because of Jason, but she's definitely going to become a hero, a full-on hero, and that's Ravager. But definitely, I think they did a good job with this Judas contract storyline, replacing Tara with Rose, and I'm definitely excited to see where that leads in the next 2 episodes. So then there's the Beast Boy storyline, which has just 2 scenes, the first scene of the episode and the final scene, but I definitely think this whole storyline is going to be played out a lot in the next episode, but I definitely expected something different from this storyline. Like, I expected Cadmus to help Beast Boy unlock the other animals, because he's used a tiger mostly, and one time used a snake, so he, like the comics, definitely has the ability to turn into every animal, but just hasn't been able to do that up until this point, and I thought either it would be psychological, and when he would do it in some sort of situation, like maybe he'd be falling and from a high height and he'd turn into a bird and save himself, but it seems like maybe they were going in a different direction, having Cadmus help him unlock his animals, but it seems like they maybe are doing something different, where Cadmus, instead of unlocking the other animals, is trying to make him their weapon in this storyline, the first scene and the last scene, which is, it's just 2 scenes, so I really don't have much of an opinion about here, and it might still unlock some animals, but I definitely wanted to see more of the unlocking animals in this episode, but I guess we're probably going to see more of that in the next one, and I'm guessing it's probably going to be very focused on. So in conclusion, this episode I thought was certainly better than the last 2 episodes, as the Dick Grayson storyline in particular was a huge highlight. However, while the Women of Titan storyline with Bruce was definitely not bad, it was not nearly as good as it could have been. Similarly, Jason and Rose, while the reveal at the end with the Judas contract was good, it was not exactly a great storyline. And the Beast Boy storyline, it was not enough scenes to actually form an opinion about, so while this episode definitely has a lot of great moments, it certainly isn't up there with the best episodes of this season, but I'll give it an 8.6 out of 10. But let me know what you thought about the episode in the comments down below. If you like this video, make sure to leave a like, share, and subscribe, and thanks for watching.